begins with the rising sun. Kutiaga Allah, for giving us your only son, for letting us to stand as one, for giving us hope until you come. Kutiaga Allah.
On Nigeria, also known as Icon. I'm your host, Tay Palm. Since January to October this year, there has been over 3,100 deaths in Nigeria and over 1,100 kidnappings as a result of terrorism in Nigeria. As believers, we are called to bear the burdens of one another, to bear the challenges of one another and see how we can be of help and assistance to one another. And that is why ICON is continuously pushing for the need for us to bear the burdens of the Christians and the people in Nigeria, to help them go through the challenges that they're going through and to help the country stop the silent slaughter that is going on in Nigeria. For the past 2 weeks, Nigeria has been rocked with protests that is known as the End SARS protest. It is a protest that started as a result of young people mobilizing themselves through social media and demanding that there should be some form of police reforms and for the police to stop the brutality that is levied on the people. SARS stands for the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police, and over the years they have been accused of all kinds of arrest, brutality, extortion, and even extrajudicial killings of innocent young people in Nigeria. For the past 2 weeks, the protest has been going on, and it has been a sad situation in Nigeria. And so today we have Kyle, the co-founder of Icon, to share with us his perspectives and more insights about the challenge with the End SARS protest in Nigeria. Kyle, you're welcome to the podcast.
Great. Thanks, Tay. Good to be here. Good to see you again. Unfortunately, it's these kind of circumstances that kind of give us these things, but yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's always good to have you here. It's a sad situation, but we need to keep moving on and see what we can do to address the situation on ground. So I want to go straight ahead and just ask you, was there, an original event that sparked this protest in Nigeria?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the timeline, October 8th, even before that, October 3rd, October 2nd, whatever. But, it goes back way before that. So as you said, this was founded in 1992 to sort of stop these sort of the high crime rate that was going on. But I think over the years, it got out of control. Eventually, 2017, the hashtag End SARS kind of erupted on the scene, and there's a petition signed. A few senators backed in the National Assembly. A petition was submitted to the National Assembly. A few senators backed it, and then there was discussion, but nothing really was ever done. They changed the name, they did some other things, but really nothing's been done since. Amnesty International has even, from 2017, reported 82 cases of SARS abuses over in the past 3 years, and they have kind of led the push for it. But I think, as you've been talking this past few weeks on the situation in Nigeria, it goes back to the Boko Haram, it goes back to Fulani militants. It's all this brewing to the top, and Nigeria is it's bubbling over,
Yeah, I mean, it's really disturbing. I think the height of it was the 20th day of October. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, when the military said to attack peaceful protesters in the at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos, and it was just a brutal attack. Is that
Yeah.
one of the reasons why this whole situation has become global now?
Well, I mean, again, so the protest, I mean, if you look at the timeline, October 3rd, this past month timeline, October 3rd, it started Delta State when the SARS, someone tried to commandeer a vehicle, SARS commandeered a vehicle. Then the 5th, Sleek, who's a musician in Port Harcourt, was killed. October 8th, SARS protests begin in Lagos. October 9th, Abuja. October 10th, police killed another person in Oyo State, protesters, and it just goes on and on and on. And then there's anti-protesters or pro-SARS movement that's been somehow on the scene, and they're causing problems. And the president isn't saying anything. The governors don't know what to say, and they don't know if they should side with the End SARS movement or not. So it's all. I mean, for us as a voice of people crying out for Nigerians, it's a good thing because the world is now seeing what is happening in Nigeria, the failed state that is actually the whole government, the federal to the state government.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because I personally feel that the End SARS protest is actually a symptom of a very failed state because there's so much more, attached to the protest in itself, regardless of the fact that the main thing is the End SARS protest, but then it's a protest against the brutality of a government and the insensitivity of a government who doesn't really listen to its citizens and who continues to undermine the youth demographic in the country. I'd like to take this opportunity to also invite one of our colleagues and friends who lives in Lagos and has experienced what is happening in Lagos. Kamara Bature works with Task. I'll just invite him to say a little bit about himself and what he does, and then give us his own perspective on the NSAS, what happened in Lagos. Kamara, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Hi, Kyle. Hi, Tay. Really appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity to share the real burden and the realities on the ground here. And thank you very much for the work you're doing to bring attention to the world, because it's very important to put pressures from all different angles so that the government is being held accountable. I really appreciate this opportunity.
So tell us about what you do, Task, and a little bit about what you do, and then what your experience has been, especially in regards to the NSAS protests and you being in Lagos and the event that happened at the Lekki toll gate.
Yeah. So I'm a partner at Task. We started Task to pretty much amplify ideas that will change the world. And we do that for businesses through our agency vertical. And also we do that through community projects. We did a few projects this year about corruption, and we pushed back on the social media bill, which was instrumental to even us being here to be able to organize online to start a movement like End SARS. I grew up in Jos. I was there when the crisis started in 2001. I remember on the 7th of September, it was the first day of the major violence that started in Jos. And I've lived through that, moved to Lagos. Personally, I've encountered SARS at 3 times. The first time, it was just I was walking on the street on an errand to the bank. They stopped me, questioned me, put me in the bus, questioned me. They were plainclothes men. At the time, they didn't have weapons, and this was around 2015 or 2016, thereabout. And I was questioned and let go. The second time, I was stopped halfway from my office to my home, which is really a 10-minute drive. And if you know Lagos very well, that's not very far. And they stopped us. We're in a car. They stopped us, searched us on the spot, and started questioning us. They had nothing on us, so they were about to let us go. And then they said they hope I don't have a tattoo. So I questioned the guy if that having a tattoo was a crime in Nigeria, and and he literally just cocked his gun, ready to shoot, and asked me to strip. Well, I could also smell alcohol on his breath, and immediately I had to comply because I didn't want to get gunned down. I've heard stories about SARS before that time, and all of the stories I heard were terrible. I stripped, they didn't say any tattoos, so they let us go. But I mean, as a Nigerian, going through that alone just gives you the idea that Nigeria is just out to get you. I left just the crisis in Jos is kind of different. It's somewhat organized violence meted on indigents, and I think that at every point in time there are different motivations for the violence, but the overall um, the overall outcome is that people get killed for nothing, whereas we can have a dialogue about whatever our differences are. And that has consistently happened to the point where you can't, you have to look at your Muslim friend very differently now. The Christians started staying in a different part of the city in Jos, but now there are more threats to the average human life in Nigeria, and one of them is a police unit in the Nigerian force. It's so interesting to me that the very people that you would expect to protect you from the other factors that are a threat to your life in Nigeria are the ones actually going about and perpetrating this evil in Nigeria. So it's been a very trying period. I've come out the luckiest in all of these stories. I mean, I got threatened once. I mean, the third time I was just questioned, and I found a way to be nice to the policeman, so I got away with it. But there are a lot of Nigerian young people that didn't get away with it. Some had to pay their way out of it, and some were just unfortunate. They were killed, and their bodies were never found.
And this, I mean, I'm just going to jump in. Sorry, Tay, but I think you said
Go ahead.
something, Kamara, that was, it's, the alcohol in their breath. It shows you the seriousness of the security forces, right? I've encountered police checks, army checks, and same thing. So if we're not requiring discipline from the security forces, police are notoriously corrupt, whatever. Army's heavy-handed. So it goes, who's commanding them? The president. Who's commanding them? The army general. So where's the seriousness of these threats to SARS? They're not taking it seriously. They're not taking Fulani militants' attack seriously. They're not taking Boko Haram seriously.
Yeah,
Right.
I totally agree with you, especially in regards to who's commanding them. Because after the attack at the Lekki toll gate, the governor said he didn't give that order.
Yeah,
And
you can't.
the army, the Nigerian military, the Nigerian armed forces said they didn't give that order. Now, it reminds me of 2012, after the St. Finbar's Catholic Church bombing. I was in the church just looking at what happened in the church, and there were people outside crying and trying to fetch the cups that were littered on the ground and trying to start a protest. The army came in there and started shooting live ammunitions at the people, the parishioners that were just bombed, the survivors. They started shooting at them. And I witnessed people who had bullet wounds rush to the hospital, as a result of that. And so the army seems to have a record of shooting innocent protesters using live ammunitions. And I think one of the biggest challenges about this is the fact that justice is not served. We don't hear about, we might hear about a panel of inquiry set to investigate, but we don't hear about anybody being arrested and justice being served as a result of that. And that is the same thing that just happened at the Lekki toll gate. Do you have anything to say about the situation with the Lekki toll gate? Because that's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all a build up of what you said, the lack of accountability, the sheer indiscipline in the force across the ranks. I remember a friend going to the police station with a friend, and the police extorted him for no reason at all. But I got into a conversation with the policeman, and he asked us to pay for for paper for them to file the report. And
Maybe a pen
I
too.
mean, like,
That's very common.
yeah, and I asked the guy, don't you guys get budgets for this? And he's like, you know what? To be frank, I will open up to you. The truth is, there's a budget. The budget is in the hundreds of millions of naira. Let's say $3 or $4 million, and then never goes. So it starts. The corruption starts from the top, where the budget is released, and the stations never see whatever money is being put out there for stationery, for whatever they need. If you get arrested in Nigeria, they will ask you to pay for, or if you have a robbery and you call the police, while you're filing the report, they'll ask you to pay for their fuel. Like, they'll ask you to pay for just basic things that are already paid for from your taxes, from the money they're getting from the government. So I mean, it's all a buildup of the unchecked this indiscipline and the unchecked lack of accountability in different regions, and you can see it happen in different ways. So the Lekki incident, it really happened. I was part of the Lekki protest. I was there at day three, I think on the 9th or 10th of October. It was peaceful. It's the most beautiful thing you would ever see in Nigeria. I do not have, personally, in my lifetime of living in Nigeria, I've never seen young people show up like this for a cause that they believe in without being paid or without having any kind of vested interest. And it's not an election year.
They're carrying
And
flags, singing the national anthem, right?
Exactly. These young people organized, raised so much money within a short period of time. From the 3rd of October, they raised at least 150 million naira as of now, and they were very accountable with the funds. They were very organized. We cleaned up after the protest I went for, and I saw that it was a trend. It was something that everybody just did. The places were kept organized. When you talk to your average Nigerian next to you, people's phones were returned when they got missing. And if you know Lagos very well, this is like a miracle. And for me, I saw a different Nigeria in the early days of the protest. And this happened for upwards of a week, until the first element of violence was introduced. Now, the fact is that we don't know how that violence was introduced or who's behind it. But it's expected that when something powerful like this starts to happen, people tend to want to take advantage of that. We don't know for a fact who was responsible for really organizing thugs to start attacking the protesters in Abuja. But it started in Abuja. The protesters were first attacked, and then it happened in Lagos again. The first attack was by thugs. But the protesters were really resilient. I didn't go back out after that first day, but I have been in touch with a lot of people that went out, and they were still persistent. They were still very much alive to the cause. Now, why did they stay up after the government offered to end SARS? The fact is that the government has said this since 2017 that they've ended SARS.
Yeah.
Every year, when the threshold is reached, the frustration of the people have gone out. You will see a report from either the head of police or a Buhari spokesman saying that SARS has been ended. And we have documented reports of that. At least they've made the announcement since 2017, every year since 2017. So the young people stayed out because they did not believe that the government will live up to its words. It seemed like the government just did a PR job to just look good and get the people to go back. But this crop of Nigerians that you're seeing now on the streets, they're very resilient and they want to follow through. They want action. They want to see policemen that shot the first set of people that were shot at the protest was from the first day. In some parts of Lagos, in some parts of Ondo, and I think in Benin as well. And we wanted to see people arrested, policemen arrested, because I know an artist manager that was that was injured. The legal team that was organized by the same protesters were able to get him out that night, but he was already injured. He had brain injury. He was he's I think he's still in critical condition. But there's so many people that were just attacked by police, and we wanted the as a show of faith for some people to be held accountable for that. Now the government claims that they're arresting some people, especially in Lagos. But the fact is that the people that the governor tweeted about today, the case files are as old as 2013. There was only one case file that started in within this period, period of protest. So we're not really pleased. The government has promised as usual, but we wanted to see the results. So the people, the young people stayed out. Unfortunately, the thugs came and started causing mayhem around, burning cars, attacking businesses. So the government used the curfew to try and stop that violence and asked all the protesters to stay at home. Although none of the violence happened at the Lekki toll. So the protesters at the Lekki toll had a different outlook to the whole curfew. They felt like they could still stand their ground, and as long as they're not doing anything illegal, well, they were out during the curfew. They decided that they would stay and at least confront the government and at least put more pressure. What happened was that the government tried to move the curfew to 9 p.m. The curfew was for 4 p.m. But at around 6:30, live witnesses, there was a DJ Switch who was at the scene, who was doing an Insta live, and we could see military men walk into the zone, and they were shooting. They were not. Some were shooting in the air, some were really shooting directly at protesters. And it was just a sad scene because you could hear. I saw videos of young people singing the national anthem with cracked voices, waving the Nigerian flag, and most of them were really sitting down. They were not violent. They were not attacking anyone, and they just came and just started shooting them. So it was really disturbing to see that. And I mean, it's the darkest day in possibly the history of Nigeria.
But
I feel like
the risk we run, Kamar, is it'll be swept under the rug. You know, they're going to deny as they have, saying, "Oh, they were men in camouflage." The governor of Lagos State says, "I didn't send them." The president says, "Didn't say anything." So these are the kind of things we've been asking for the past weeks, the past years. There's no accountability. There's impunity with the government. There's no accountability with holding people accountable. Protesters are arrested and not even charged. So how long are they going to linger in jails? People that are this is where we're talking as the whole picture of Nigeria. It's failed. This is where we've got to look at that and say, the End SARS movement could get hijacked. Like the Black Lives Matter, those are great words. That's a great concept, but it could be hijacked in certain areas, and the voices get lost, and the vision get lost. So we pray and hope that End SARS doesn't come to the same fate, but as well as they open up to other movements and other people that are like us that are trying to share the vision and hope for Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, as a Nigerian,
go ahead, Kamara. Go ahead, Kamara.
No, as a Nigerian, I have personally lost faith in the leaders. It's so disturbing to see their response to this, and especially when the young people are just really asking for something really basic. Just don't kill us. It's so basic, and if you can't grant the young people that have shown example of moving Nigeria forward, that you can actually do this thing and help them with this regard, allow them to at least bring solutions to Nigeria, because they're really the hope that there is in Nigeria. Just last week or so, a young Nigerian under the age of 30 sold his company for $200 million. These are the guys that are doing it. We're young, and they didn't steal money. They didn't do it from a government contract that was overbloated. They are actually working hard. And their hopes are being put out So personally, as a Nigerian, I feel there's no reason to have faith in the government, especially when they don't want to, at the very least, admit that something happened on Tuesday. They're trying to bury the evidence. We had
Yeah.
somebody on the
Mm.
ground that reported that they saw bodies being carted away by the military after the mayhem on Tuesday night. And Amnesty International um, put some investigators on the ground and reported that at least 7 people were killed that night. The governor came out and said nobody was killed.
Yeah. Right.
President
Yeah.
Buhari did not even mention the victims of the protest.
So
So,
so that is exactly what I wanted to the last thing I want you guys to talk about real quick. Senator Sheikh Hussaini, who represents one of the constituency in the federal Senate from Kaduna, uh, made a tweet, and he said, "You asked for speech, you got the speech, and now you are speechless."
Yeah.
And that was the feeling of most Nigerians yesterday, a feeling of disappointment and hopelessness, and a lot of anger at the way the president undermined the legitimate cries of the young people demanding for a better and a responsible government. I would like you guys to just comment straight to the point, as short as possible, about the president's speech and the president's response to all of this. And this is coming days after the unlawful killing of innocent civilians.
I'll go first if I could. If I just want to, as an American who's lived in Nigeria, worked in Nigeria, and see the hope and potential of Nigeria, it's frustrating. Every year, just like here, you come down to 2 candidates or a few, and this is the best we can get. When Buhari was elected, he was brought in as a change agent. Everyone was saying he's going to be the person. He's going to be the person. He won't stand for corruption, discipline, in the war against indiscipline. Everyone had that. And what did he do? In the last 5 years of his reign, more people have died than the previous 10 years. He's not done nearly enough to stop the Boko Haram, the Fulani militants, and now he's dealing with the SARS. It was only a matter of time. So I think his words, no one can listen. No one can hear him anymore and think he's telling anything worthwhile or truthful. So that's why, as an international community, we look at it and say, we're not here to save you. We're not here to remove Buhari, but we are here to work with him to help him, or help the citizens at least have a voice.
Thank you, Kyle. Kamara, you have a quick one to say?
yes, so one of the things that I try to find is the response from at least the leader. During a time where young people are really vibrant, you're missing an opportunity to stand with them. I feel like the president missed a whole opportunity to give Nigerians confidence in the government, in the leadership, because here are a crop of Nigerians that are really organizing. They are sacrificing their comforts, their lives, putting their bodies on the line to try and get a better life for all Nigerians, really. In one of the 5 demands that the protesters coalesced around, one of the things that we're advocating for was more pay for the police, so that they stop extorting the average citizen, because the police are not well paid. And for you to not even look at that and see that these guys are really honorable, they're coming to make a stand for a better Nigeria, and know that this thing needs to be protected and encouraged, it's a missed opportunity. The second thing is that the first time that the protest started, between the time that the protest started and the time that the president responded, it took him 4 or 5 days. It was on the 11th that he came and said, okay, I've listened to you, I'm going to end SARS, which was the empty promises that we expected to see. But again, things happened between that time on the 11th, that happened between the 11th and yesterday, the 22nd, when he spoke. He had a lot of opportunity to speak. And I don't know how you're the president of a big country like Nigeria. There's a crisis, not even a crisis. There's protest about your primary responsibility, which is to secure the lives of Nigerians. There's a protest about that, and you don't say anything for upwards of 10 days. You come out and then you do not address facts of the issue, their live reports, their live witnesses, at least order an investigation. At least ask the head of police to resign. At least hold somebody accountable, name names, you know. And I think that all of that just goes to show that even at this highly a very even at this event where everybody's paying attention, you still fall short. That means the smaller things that you're supposed to do, you are. I can imagine what you'll be doing with them. I don't think that he's tuned into the realities of the Nigerian population. I don't think he's doing his job at all.
Hmm. And that is the thought of almost all the youths, or most of the youths in Nigeria. Thank you, Kyle and Kamara, for coming on the podcast. Thank you for your time. And Kamara, our hearts are with you in Lagos and all the young people in Nigeria. We extend our condolences to families who have lost their ones and the ones who are injured. We hope and pray that you get well real quick. Thank you for coming on the podcast, guys.
Thank you very much for the work you're doing.
And then I also
You're
want to make an
welcome.
announcement, if I can, before you go off the air. Next week, Tuesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in the U.S., we're doing another event, an awareness event. Again, this is to bring Americans specifically to what's going on in Nigeria. So we're having Benjamin Watson, former professional American football player, John Stonestreet, a theologian, a couple of guests from Nigeria sharing on what is going on. So this is, again, targeted to Americans to get involved, because information, as Kamar could probably attest to, it's been blocked certain times. There's been Facebook, Instagram,
Yes.
certain tweets and posts were being blocked as fake news. And eventually some of them are unblocked, but that can't happen. So the word needs to get out. People in America need to be praying and helping to share it, to be a voice for those in Nigeria, especially at this time. So thanks, Tay. Thanks, Kamar. Appreciate you.
You're
All right,
welcome.
thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have for today on the podcast. It has been a really sad time, um, uh, but our hearts are with all the people in Nigeria and all the people and the Nigerians in diaspora clamoring and standing for change. We're with you, and we pray that people who have lost their ones will be comforted. Please go to our website at www.icon.org and see what we're doing. You can also get involved in some of the activities we're doing. Visit our social media platforms on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook, and make comments, ask questions, and just be part of what we're doing. It's always a pleasure having the time to share this knowledge and this information with you. We wish you the best and have a beautiful weekend. Thank you.